Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about non-passing drafting. Some time ago I talked about games where you've got a hand of cards that you're passing along to the next people and taking one or two or however many it is to add to your own personal collection. These games are relatively similar in that you're building up your own stockpile, but at the same time, everything is known to everybody. Everybody sees face-up cards or tiles or whatever it is, and the idea is just that, are you going to be able to get what you want? Where everybody's going to be picking in some specified order, and can you get what you're looking for? So it's a very similar idea in terms of you're building up what you want, but it's different in the sense of somebody else might know what you're looking for and be able to take it from you or something along those lines. So it's a little bit different, and it is an important difference, which of course, as always, I'm very curious what you all have to say about it. What are your personal favorites in this category and why? Or is it something where you don't really make a distinction as far as drafting? Do you even consider these drafting, or do you think of it solely as I have cards and I pass them around? Let me know anything and everything in the comments below. But with that, we are going to jump right in with my number 5. At number 5, I've got Legendary, and by extension, the other Legendary games, as well as a few other deck builders like Clank and stuff like that. Essentially, these are games where you have a bank of cards that are available for purchase at any given time, where as long as you have enough of whatever the resource is, you're able to take it and add it to your deck. The thing is, it's really low on this particular list because first off, it's a cooperative game, so everybody can sort of plan out, I'm collecting these, I need that, this will synergize well, that kind of thing. And the other major thing is that you need to have enough of the resource in order to get it. If you don't have that resource, then you may not be guaranteed to get anything at all. That said, you do still have that drafting idea of you've got things that are available, things that are visible face up for anybody, and potentially if you have enough resource, then you can just grab it regardless of what anybody else thinks, not necessarily thinking about it strategically. Either way though, Legendary as well as Clank and a few other deck builders are my number 5. At number 4, I've got the Networks, thematically one of my favorite games on the list, with the idea being that everybody runs a TV station and you're vying to try to get the best combination of TV shows, actors, and ads, where essentially everything is available for everybody to see and you are trying to get the things that meld the best together, where if an actor is really good at drama, you want to put them in a dramatic show and those types of things. In addition, as seasons go by, you'll have shows that dip and rise and go all over the place in terms of how popular they are, which means that you'll get more money if you have good ads. So there's a lot of synergistic strategy going on with it, and it's a lot of fun. That said, you do have a whole lot of randomization in terms of what cards are going to come out and not necessarily being able to see what's going to be good next time, but at the very least you'll know what's good on your particular board, and so that means you can do at least some long-term planning. But with all of it, the Networks is my number 4. At number 3, I've got Wingspan, the game where you are trying to attract birds into your aviary. Essentially, you'll have cards representing particular birds that are face up for everybody to see, and you'll try to make a habitat that really matches what those birds are looking for. Effectively, as you get more and more birds into your particular habitat, then they'll be able to lay eggs, you'll be able to get more and more points, you'll be able to get more and more actions, all of that kind of stuff. And of course, as you get more of particular types of birds or ones that have particular nesting ideas and things like that, then everything will stack on top of one another and starts to grow exponentially. It's really incredibly well done. It's a game that has gotten rave reviews from critics and gamers alike. It's absolutely amazing. I really adore the theme because it's pretty heavily scientific, but it's still a lot of fun for non-scientists as well. That said, the actual aspect of the drafting is fairly solid. It's more about engine building than it is anything else, but you do have that idea of everything is face up. You can see what's coming, and so you'll be able to try and plan out for what you want to do. Wingspan, my number 3. At number 2, I've got Seven Wonders Duel. Unlike its predecessor of Seven Wonders, which is a very classic pass the cards type of drafting game, in this one, all of the cards are laying out in front of you so you're able to see at least a large portion of them. Essentially, throughout the game, you're going to be collecting and building as much as you're able to, depending on what resources you have, what buildings you already have built, and all of that kind of stuff. You're trying to gain some military, you're trying to gain points through set collection or through strict points, you're trying to gain more building power, power by giving yourself quarries and things of that nature, and all sorts of other different stuff. The wonderful thing about this is that you can see at least some of what's coming up, so you can potentially force your opponent to paint themselves into a corner so that they'll have to take a card that will open up another card that you really need and things like that. I love that aspect of this particular style of drafting, in that you have a lot more long-term strategic planning that you can enable yourself for. It makes it a lot more fun. It's absolutely wonderful. I've really grown to love this game. Seven Wonders Duel, my number 2. At number 1, I've got King Domino. This is a game that kind of took me by surprise in terms of how much I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting it to be so strategic and so much fun and so intriguing. Essentially, the idea is that you're trying to make a 5x5 grid out of 1x2 domino structures that have different types of terrain on them. There are rules in terms of how you're allowed to place them into your particular grid, and there's also a bunch revealed that anybody are able to take on their turn. But at the same time, you're going to dictate when you go in the next round based off of the number of the tile that you end up taking in a particular round. So what this ends up being is you can force your opponent to take a worse one if you take one that's maybe not necessarily the best for you, but you're forcing them into a worse position. You have a lot of strategic positioning in that context. You also have a lot of long-term planning in terms of you want to have a lot of a particular type of terrain, you want to have the most of it, you want to have a bunch of gold crowns, all of these kinds of things. There's a lot of things that sort of culminate in this tiny little game. It's really easy to play, it's really fast to learn, and it's relatively fast to play as well. You can get multiple plays in pretty easily because it only takes about 20 minutes. Great game, lots of fun. King Domino, my number 1. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite non-passing based draft games. I know it's kind of a weird distinction, like I said at the beginning, but for me personally, it really is something that makes a difference. When you have something like Seven Wonders, where you're actually passing cards around, or if you're using the variant for Terraforming Mars, then it has a much different strategic feel than being able to at least plan out somewhat based off of what you physically see in front of you. You get a lot more information from your opponent in terms of what they're taking, what they might be planning, and you yourself can say, okay, I'm going to try to get this, this, and this, so you can work towards those specific things. It's a really different feel, and I think that it really deserves its own category and its own level of praise. But that said, you guys know I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this particular category, and why? Do you think it deserves its own thing? Do you not? Do you like drafting games in general? Let me know anything and everything in the comments below, because you know I love to hear it all. But that said, as always, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at all my social media pages, as well as my Patreon page, where you can interact with myself and my channel in a whole bunch of really fun ways. But with that, thank you once again so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.